Hey guys, welcome back to Macros Monday. Okay, so we wanted to start off today and talk a little bit about obesity in terms of family. So here's the thing, statistics are when one parent, if a child has a parent that is obese, they are 50% more likely to actually become obese themselves.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and if both parents are obese, they are 80% more likely to be obese later on in life. And this just came to me because yesterday, I looked this up when I was at the grocery store. We were actually texting yesterday, and then I was at the grocery, and I saw two parents that were extremely obese, and the child was, they were probably 4 or 5 years old, and they were quite thin. But then I thought about it, I thought, man, you know, what example parents can set for their children, especially at the grocery store, making choices and whatnot. So we wanted to talk a little bit about that today. So here's the thing, it's important for you, especially if you take your children to the grocery store, educate your kids.
Yeah.
That's where everything's going to start. So like making smart choices in the aisles, or talking about the fruit and vegetables. But that's really, really, really important to educate your children on why it's important to be healthy because of the long-term effects in life. And set that example for your kids. Number two, I've got some things written down here. And Coach Joe's going to fill in here with this one, but provide them a no-fail environment in terms of what's at home. So talk about the pantry.
Yeah, so we talk a lot about shaping your environment, guys. A lot has to do with mindset. We talk about like decluttering your house or making sure you aren't tempted by certain things. But if you have, for your kids, right? Kids naturally are like, I love this. It's from John Berardi, Precision Nutrition's founder. He said, look, I know my kids are going to find carbohydrates. They're going to be at lunch at school. They're going to have fruit snacks with their friends. They're going to eat Cheez-Its. They're going to have a Pop-Tart. Like, I'm not concerned with them finding carbs. What I don't want to do is make it the thing that they always find at home. Because if you just set it up that it's just not there, kids don't know any better.
Exactly.
Like, they don't think to themselves, like, why don't I have Reese's cups everywhere?
Yes.
They're like, what's a Reese's cup? Or, oh yeah, I only get those when I am at blah place and it's a special treat for me. But if it's always around, it's just what's normal. And what's not normal is fruit, vegetables, lean protein, healthy fats, like real food, that we talk about all the time. So making sure that they aren't in a situation where like they don't have a developed prefrontal cortex, like they can't make rational, good decisions.
Correct.
Like a grown adult can. And in fact, you can't really do that until I think it's like 20, something like that, 18.
18
it's like
years old, yeah.
In high school, you're still developing this. So
Yeah.
understanding that you need to set your kids up for success early on and not putting them in a situation where like they're going to make a bad decision.
Correct. Which leads on to portion size control. We're going to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, if every time you eat dinner, you're having like 2 cheeseburgers. I'm gonna go really out of bounds here. It's like 2 cheeseburgers and like a pile of French fries that takes up a huge dinner plate. So you might find it like an Outback Steakhouse or a Chili's or something. Not that there's anything wrong with doing that every now and then, but if that's what you look like all the time, kids will mirror you.
Correct.
Right? Like, I'm not a parent, but I've heard really funny stories from parents about their kid swearing, right? Like saying a cuss word when they're 2 or 3 years old. And it's like, they don't know what that is, they're just mirroring you. Same thing with their food. If every time you eat, what you're choosing to eat is very indulgent, tons of it, they're gonna be like, oh, I'm supposed to fill my plate the exact same way. And they'll just fill their plate the same way. So you need to make sure that you're also practicing like normal portion control sizes, right? Like your carbs, a couple fists, right? Protein, palms of your hand. If you're measuring these things, you can do that as well, but making sure that it looks like a normal plate where it's like you have protein, some carbs, bunch of vegetables, and some healthy fat on the side.
Absolutely. Teaching your kids to avoid the liquid calories is important. So things like your soda drinks or even the Kool-Aid. There's an actual SNL skit that's one of my favorite skits that they do. It's a commercial, and it's a birthday party setting, and one of the kids is actually an adult male that's dressed as a little girl, and she walks in and she says, "I want more Kool-Aid," because she's had so much that like it has affected her growth, and it's funny, but it's like, oh my, what can actually happen? I mean, granted, that's an extreme, but it's just funny to me to see this. So, but I always sit that image is in my head now, and I don't drink Kool-Aid anymore.
And remember that sugar, right, what is in Kool-Aid and all these sweetened beverages, like most beverages that have calories are sweetened by sugar, not by fat. I guess you don't really sweeten with fat, but you know what I mean, the added calories are from carbohydrates. Sugar's an addictive substance,
Absolutely.
right? It is not heroin.
No.
People talk about, oh, it's just as addictive as hard drugs. Like, let's ease up on that a touch. But
Sure.
It is addictive, and you will search more of it if you have it. And so how can you expect your kid to go and drink even a Gatorade, right? Like, be smart about what's in your house. If they're drinking soda and Gatorade and Kool-Aid all hours of the day, not only are they going to consistently do that, they're going to turn themselves pre-diabetic, right? Like, that's why there's juvenile, like, type 2 diabetes now, not like JDRF, but like type 2 diabetes for kids. That's kind of insane to think about, that you're growing and your insulin can't is not produced naturally. That's pretty crazy. So think about what you're letting them have and what effect it's having on their health long term.
Absolutely. And then the next one is, and last one is avoid snacking between meals. I realize that healthy snacks are absolutely something that you can promote in your house, but the snacking of the Reese cups, as you pointed out earlier, or just like, having the M&Ms around the house and whatnot, but teaching them that it's important, because how many times, I know when I was little, do you end up filling up on junk food between meals, and then when it comes time for actual meal, like the dinner or lunch or whatever it might be, you're like, I'm not really hungry.
Yeah.
And then you make poor choices. So that's really what it leads down to. So there's that's 5 tips for you today to really, hopefully you can, in terms of educating your kids, but also setting the example for long-term success for themselves. And they'll appreciate that down the road. So that completes our Macros Monday post today, guys. If you have any questions for us, please put in the comment section below the video. Otherwise, we'll come to you next week with some more tips and tricks on Macros Monday. You have a good week. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Bye-bye.